Let's be honest, most of us want to level up in life the way people do in video games. You hit a few buttons, maybe fight off a couple of goblins, and boom, you're suddenly stronger, richer, and smarter. But reality doesn't hand out cheat codes. You can't just enter up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, and suddenly unlock abs, financial freedom, and emotional intelligence. If it worked like that, I'd already have a six-pack, a library bigger than Elon Musk's brain, and the ability to say no to free cake at birthday parties. But here's the problem. We all want to progress, and we all want it fast. Faster than our colleagues, faster than our neighbors, faster than that one person on Instagram who always looks like they figured out life. And that's exactly why I want to introduce you to someone who may just hold the secret code to progressing way faster than anyone else, a Japanese swordsman named Miyamoto Musashi. Now, Musashi wasn't your average guy. He didn't just dabble in sword fighting like some weekend karate class. No, he fought over 60 official duels in his lifetime, and he never lost. Not once. Imagine playing 60 championship finals in your career and retiring undefeated. This wasn't just a man with good reflexes. This was someone who lived like life itself was one long tournament. And when he wasn't swinging swords and humbling warriors, he was painting, sculpting, meditating, and writing one of the most timeless books on strategy ever created, The Book of Five Rings. So here's what we're going to do in this video. We're going to take the raw, sometimes brutal wisdom of Musashi, mix it with psychology, sprinkle in some humor so you don't feel like you're being lectured by a 400-year-old samurai ghost, and pulled out practical lessons you can use to progress faster than the average person around you. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll have a playbook for growth that's sharper than Musashi's sword. So who exactly was Miyamoto Musashi, and why should you care about some guy who lived centuries ago swinging swords in Japan? Well, imagine if Bruce Lee, Elon Musk, and that one friend who refuses to waste time scrolling TikTok had a baby. Actually, don't imagine that, it's weird. But Musashi was essentially a living cheat code for discipline, mastery, and relentless progress. Born in 1584, Musashi started fighting before most kids today can even spell the word discipline. His very first duel was at the age of 13, and not against another kid in middle school who stole his lunch. No, Musashi challenged a grown samurai. Most of us at 13 were struggling with acne and algebra, but Musashi was already perfecting the art of not dying. And he didn't just survive that duel, he won. That set the tone for his entire life, a streak of victories that would stretch over 60 duels, 60 wins, 0 losses. Now think about that. This man retired undefeated, like the Floyd Mayweather of 1600s Japan, only with less Instagram flexing and way more actual danger.
But here's what makes Musashi interesting. He wasn't obsessed with luxury, fame, or even the samurai celebrity status he could have easily milked. Instead, he chose a minimalist life. He refused fancy clothes, often lived in caves or small huts, and carried very little. His idea of a shopping spree was probably sharpening his sword on a rock and calling it a day. Why? Because Musashi wasn't chasing comfort, he was chasing mastery. He believed distractions made you weak, and weakness meant death. Now compare that to today's hustle culture. Everyone talks about grinding and staying focused, but most people can't make it through a single Netflix episode without also scrolling on their phones. Musashi would have looked at our modern world and thought, "You people are training yourselves to be defeated." Imagine him watching someone binge-watch a whole season in one sitting. He probably challenged Netflix to a duel. Musashi's whole life was about stripping away the unnecessary so he could progress faster than anyone else. And here's the kicker. He wasn't just a swordsman. He painted, wrote poetry, did calligraphy, and even carved sculptures. This wasn't just a swordsman. This was a man obsessed with growth in every area of life, A man who proved that if you commit fully, you can learn, master, and dominate far beyond the average. When Musashi was just 13, he fought his very first duel. Let's pause on that for a second. At 13, most of us were worried about pimples, puberty, or whether our crush would notice our new sneakers. Musashi? He picked up a wooden staff, faced off against a grown, fully trained samurai, and said, "Yeah, I'll take my chances." Not only did he take those chances, but he won. That's like a middle schooler walking into a UFC cage and walking out with a championship belt. Here's what's even crazier. Musashi didn't prepare with endless training montages or a color-coded to-do list. He didn't spend 6 months researching the best sword angles or binging top 10 samurai moves on YouTube. He just fought. He did. And by doing, he learned. That was the secret. He knew the fastest way to progress wasn't sitting around theorizing. It was putting yourself on the battlefield, whether literal or metaphorical, and figuring things out as you go. Now let's be real. Most of us have the opposite problem. We're addicted to thinking instead of doing. We plan, we analyze, we overanalyze, and then when the time comes to actually act, we suddenly need a little more preparation. You've probably said it before. I'll start the business once I've finished this online course. I'll go to the gym once I've researched the perfect workout split. I'll talk to that person once I've rehearsed 142 possible responses in my head. By the time we're done preparing, the opportunity has packed its bags, boarded a flight, and is already sipping margaritas on a beach somewhere. Musashi didn't wait until he had perfect conditions. He didn't have optimal lighting for his duel or peak motivation levels. He simply acted. And here's the truth. Action is the fastest teacher. You'll learn more from failing once in the real world than from reading 100 articles about success. The first punch, the first attempt, the first messy, awkward try. That's where actual progress begins.
Think about it. How many people do you know who've been thinking about starting a YouTube channel for years but haven't uploaded a single video? Or those who've planned their novel for a decade but haven't written a single chapter? Meanwhile, some teenager posts 3 chaotic TikToks a week and accidentally lands a book deal. Why? Because they did. So here's Musashi's first lesson for you. Stop treating life like a board meeting and start treating it like a duel. You don't get infinite time to plan. You step into the ring, swing, and learn faster than the person still polishing their PowerPoint slides. Musashi wasn't exactly living the influencer lifestyle. He didn't have silk robes, golden armor, or a cozy mansion with servants preparing sushi on demand. No, Musashi often slept in caves, wandered the countryside barefoot, and lived like a man allergic to luxury. He stripped his life down to the bare essentials. Why? Because he knew comfort dulls the blade of progress. If you get too cozy, too padded, too spoiled, your edge disappears. Think about it. Musashi could have easily cashed in on his fame after a few duels, become a celebrity samurai, and enjoyed the 1600s version of room service. But instead, he chose the rough road. Cold nights, hard ground, minimal possessions. He understood something we tend to forget. Growth only comes when you step outside of comfort. Struggle isn't an obstacle, it's the training ground. Now let's compare that with our modern lives. Today we panic if the Wi-Fi drops for 10 minutes. We complain when our Uber Eats order takes longer than expected. Like, how dare this sushi take 31 minutes when the app promised 29? Meanwhile, Musashi was out here walking for days without food, sharpening his sword on rocks, and calling it a Tuesday. If Musashi saw us ordering food with a tap on our phones, he'd probably duel the delivery guy just to stay sharp. Here's the reality. Our obsession with comfort is slowing us down. We've created a world where everything is convenient, but convenience kills growth. Struggle makes you stronger. but comfort makes you soft. Musashi deliberately avoided luxury because he wanted to stay sharp. He believed that if you can handle hardship voluntarily, then when real challenges come, you're already prepared. So what does this mean for you? It doesn't mean you have to move into a cave and start whittling swords, but it does mean you should regularly step into discomfort. Go to the gym even when it's cold outside. Wake up early to work on your craft when your bed feels like heaven. Skip the fast food for a week and actually cook your meals. Do something that stretches you instead of numbing you.
Because here's the uncomfortable truth. If you always choose comfort, someone else who embraces discomfort will pass you by. And Musashi? He'd be that guy, outpacing all of us while we're still deciding between Netflix or scrolling TikTok. So, Musashi's second principle is clear. Comfort is the enemy of rapid progress. If you want to grow faster than anyone else, you have to treat discomfort as your daily training partner. If you thought Musashi was just a guy swinging swords all day like some medieval action figure, think again. Yes, he was the greatest duelist of his time, undefeated in over 60 battles. But here's the part most people miss. Musashi wasn't only a warrior. He was an artist, a poet, a calligrapher, and the author of one of the most influential strategy books ever written. This man could defeat you in a duel at sunrise, then spend the afternoon painting delicate landscapes, and finish the evening writing philosophy that still gets studied 4 centuries later. So what's the lesson here? Musashi understood that mastery in one area feeds mastery in another. He didn't limit himself to just one path. He practiced swordsmanship, but he also trained his mind and spirit through other arts. By stretching himself across different disciplines, he actually deepened his understanding of all of them. That's the secret. The fastest way to progress isn't obsessing over one single lane forever, it's cross-training your mind and skills. Fast forward to today. The most successful people on the planet are rarely one-dimensional. Elon Musk didn't just stick to software. He jumped into cars, rockets, solar power, and even brain chips. Steve Jobs didn't only focus on computers. He studied design, typography, and even calligraphy, which directly shaped Apple's clean aesthetic. The YouTubers and creators crushing it right now, they're not just filming videos, they're editing, storytelling, marketing, branding, sometimes even scoring their own background music. The more lanes you touch, the more perspective and creativity you bring back to your main craft. And imagine if Musashi had a TikTok channel. He'd probably post a sword fight in the morning, drop a haiku about discipline in the afternoon, and then go live at night giving a painting tutorial, all while telling you to stop scrolling and go master something. He wouldn't be limited to one platform or one skill set. He'd use every tool available to sharpen himself. Here's the thing. A lot of us think, I just need to focus on my one thing forever. But what happens when you hit a wall? Or worse, when your one skill gets outdated? Musashi teaches us that diversifying your skills doesn't slow you down. It accelerates you. Because every new skill you pick up connects back, gives you insight, and strengthens your foundation. So, Musashi's third principle is simple but powerful. Don't be a single-tool warrior. Learn broadly. Grow in multiple areas. Because the wider your range, the sharper your edge.
Hey, if you're still here right now, first of all, thank you. You clearly have the kind of focus and patience Musashi himself would respect. Most people would have clicked away the moment I said, struggle makes you stronger, but you're still sharpening your blade of knowledge, and that's exactly why you'll progress faster than the average person. This cave, he would have subscribed already. He'd probably hit the notification bell too, just to stay battle ready. So, subscribe now and let's keep training the mind together. because the real duel in life isn't out there, it's right here. If there's one thing Musashi's life screams, it's this: discipline beats motivation every single time. Let's be real. If Musashi had waited around to feel motivated, he'd probably still be standing in some rice field in 1600 sharpening his sword, saying, maybe tomorrow. But Musashi didn't operate on vibes. He operated on discipline. Every single duel, every piece of art, every word of his writing, none of it came from waiting for some magical lightning bolt of inspiration to strike. It came from showing up consistently, even when he didn't feel like it. Musashi didn't need hype music, vision boards, or a motivational podcast. His motivation was simple. If he slacked off, he died. That'll get you moving pretty fast. Now here's where this hits home for us. We live in a culture obsessed with motivation. People say things like, "I'll go to the gym once I feel motivated. I'll write my book when inspiration hits. I'll start my side hustle once I'm in the right headspace." But newsflash, motivation is flaky. It comes and goes like Wi-Fi in a storm. If you rely on it, you'll never get consistent progress. Musashi teaches us that the hack isn't motivation, it's habit. Small daily actions that don't care whether you feel like it or not. Want to progress faster than everyone else? Stop negotiating with your feelings. Build systems instead. Schedule your workouts. Block time for your craft. Set non-negotiable rules for your life. Do it whether you feel inspired or not. That's how you sharpen your sword, one stroke at a time. Think about it. How many times have you skipped something because you weren't in the mood? Now imagine if Musashi skipped training because he had a lazy day. He wouldn't have lasted 5 duels, let alone 60. The man didn't rely on moods, he relied on discipline. So, here's the funny truth. Motivation is like your flaky friend who cancels plans last minute. Discipline is the reliable friend who shows up at 6 a.m. with coffee, ready to grind. If you want to progress, you need more of the second.
Musashi's fourth principle is this: consistency beats bursts of inspiration. If you can show up daily, even in small ways, you'll move further, faster, and steadier than the people who only act when they feel like it. One of Musashi's most famous teachings was this: perceive that which cannot be seen. Sounds mysterious, right? Almost like something Yoda would say if he traded in his lightsaber for a katana. But Musashi wasn't talking about magic tricks or ghosts. He was talking about learning to see through illusions, spotting what others miss, and cutting through distractions that cloud your focus. Now, in Musashi's day, illusions were things like being lured into a duel on someone else's terms, or mistaking confidence for skill. In our day, illusions come in the form of flashy distractions and fake opportunities that eat up our time and energy. If Musashi were alive today, he wouldn't be battling rival samurai, he'd be battling TikTok's For You page. Think about how easy it is to get trapped in distractions now. You pick up your phone to just check one message, and suddenly it's 2 hours later. You've watched 17 cooking hacks you'll never try, 3 conspiracy theories about ancient aliens, and 1 video of a raccoon stealing cat food. That's not research. That's doom scrolling. And it's the exact opposite of progress. Musashi understood that the greatest victories come from clarity of focus. When you can see past distractions, you move faster than everyone drowning in them. Most people today live in a haze of constant noise. Notifications, ads, clickbait, endless scrolling. And here's the funny part. People actually convince themselves this is productive. I'm just researching. they say, while they're 15 videos deep into 10 richest YouTubers compilations. Musashi would have looked at that and said, "You're training yourself to lose before you've even entered the duel." The truth is, progress equals focus. If you can filter out what doesn't matter, you'll gain time, energy, and clarity that others simply don't have. Musashi didn't waste his attention on petty distractions. Every duel, every practice, every brushstroke of his art, he was fully present. That's how he advanced so quickly. So here's the lesson for us. Your ability to progress depends on your ability to ignore. Ignore the endless noise, the fake shortcuts, the shiny traps that pull you away from real work. Want to be rare? Master the art of focus in a distracted world. Because in the battle between clarity and chaos, the focused one always wins. Musashi's fifth principle is simple. See through illusion, sharpen your focus, and progress becomes inevitable. When people hear that Musashi fought more than 60 duels, they imagine a man obsessed with crushing others. But here's the twist. Musashi's real philosophy wasn't about defeating opponents. It was about defeating himself. His goal wasn't to be better than others. It was to be better than yesterday's Musashi. Every duel was just a test of how far he'd progressed.
And this flips the whole competition thing on its head. See, most of us waste time comparing ourselves to others. We scroll through social media, see someone on vacation in Bali, someone else driving their new car, another person launching a startup, and suddenly we feel behind. But here's the truth. Life isn't a leaderboard, it's a duel. And the opponent isn't Karen from accounting or that guy who posts gym selfies every morning. The opponent is your lazy, comfortable self that just wants to binge Netflix and eat snacks in bed. Musashi knew this. He wasn't obsessed with bragging rights, he was obsessed with mastery. That's why his victories mattered, not because they boosted his ego, but because they proved his discipline, focus, and growth were real. His true opponent was always himself. And when you start living this way, something amazing happens. Progress accelerates. Instead of wasting energy comparing to everyone else, you lock in on the only metric that matters. Are you stronger, wiser, and more disciplined than you were yesterday? Did you win today's duel against your excuses? That's the measure. So here's the challenge. Stop dueling the world and start dueling yourself. Each day, fight the urge to procrastinate, to scroll endlessly, to settle for less. Those tiny victories stack up into massive growth. And funny enough, once you start focusing on that duel, you'll automatically pass the people still wasting time trying to outdo everyone else. Musashi's ninth principle is this: your greatest battle isn't with others, it's with yourself. Master that duel, and progress will take care of itself. Let's take a quick breather here, because honestly, if Musashi were around today, this is the part where he probably get a sponsorship deal. You know, this duel is brought to you by... But let's be real. Musashi lived in caves, carried almost nothing, and avoided luxury like the plague. He would have ghosted every sponsor email. Imagine trying to offer him a brand deal. Hey Musashi, can you hold this energy drink while you fight? He'd probably duel the marketing guy on the spot. But since he can't say it himself, I'll say it for him. This is exactly where he would smash the subscribe button. If you've enjoyed this video so far and you want more deep, unusual insights like this, go ahead and subscribe to Quiet Questions. Because let's face it, Musashi may not have had Wi-Fi in his cave, but if he did, he'd be first in line. Musashi didn't just fight duels and wander the countryside, he left behind a guide that has inspired warriors, entrepreneurs, and thinkers for centuries. The Book of Five Rings. This isn't a book about swords or violence. It's a manual on strategy, perception, and mastery that applies to every aspect of life.
At its core, Musashi's wisdom is simple. Life is a battlefield, but the most important battles are internal. He teaches us to study everything, observe keenly, and act decisively. Don't just react, anticipate. Understand the environment, the situation, and even yourself before making a move. Progress, he says, comes from preparation, focus, and relentless practice. The 5 rings are not just literal. They represent different approaches to mastery: ground, water, fire, wind, and void. Each ring teaches us a principle for growth. Ground is about stability. Water is adaptability. Fire is aggression and action. Wind is understanding the world and others. And void is intuition in the unseen. Together, they form a blueprint for excelling in any endeavor. Musashi's influence is timeless because these lessons aren't tied to swords, they're tied to human nature. He shows that whether you're building a business, learning a skill, or improving your life, the same principles of focus, discipline, and awareness apply. So what's the takeaway? Study broadly, act boldly, embrace struggle, and focus relentlessly. Train your mind and your habits and approach life like a series of duels with yourself. Musashi's legacy reminds us that mastery isn't magic. It's a disciplined, intentional process. If you adopt even a fraction of his wisdom, your progress won't just be faster, it'll be inevitable. And that's why Musashi's teachings still cut sharper than any sword, centuries after he lived. So let's recap what we've learned from Musashi, the undefeated samurai who lived like every day was a duel with himself. First, learn by doing, not overthinking. Action teaches faster than endless planning. Second, embrace discomfort. Growth lives outside your comfort zone. Third, master many skills. Diversity accelerates your progress. Fourth, discipline beats motivation. Consistency wins where inspiration fails. Fifth, see through illusion and distraction. Focus is your secret weapon. And finally, compete with yourself, not others. Your greatest duel is always internal. Progress isn't magic. It isn't about luck or waiting for the perfect moment. Progress is deliberate training, daily discipline, and an unwavering focus on becoming a sharper, wiser version of yourself. Musashi's life proves that anyone who applies these principles can move faster, think clearer, and live with purpose. If you found this video valuable, do 3 things. Like it to support more content, comment below with your biggest takeaway, and subscribe to Quiet Questions for more deep, unusual insights that help you level up faster than anyone else. Hit that notification bell, and let's continue this journey together, because mastery, just like Musashi taught, is a path you walk every day.